So we're back for our third and final interview. Well, and tomorrow morning we'll be in Townsville.
That's right.
How do you feel?
Relieved to get it over with.
Relieved to get it over with.
Most definitely. It's been a long, long time.
Can you tell us what your expectations were, and now at the end of the expedition, how these expectations have been fulfilled?
Actually, my expectations were what we got. I expected we would go drill a bunch of rocks, and we would have some surprises, we would have some setbacks, and we would have some really good holes, and that's pretty much what we had. We got two really good holes with fresh rocks, and those will be great. We got surprised by the fact that these things didn't drill as easily as we thought, so we couldn't go as deeply as we had planned. We got one site where we found something we didn't expect at all, and are still arguing about it, but that's good, because that's, if you just found what you thought you'd find when you went out, that wouldn't be nearly as exciting. And we found some holes that were really altered, and that's going to be a challenge. But we also, everything we got, we learned. We went to a big place that was basically a blank spot, and we filled it in with some data.
Right. In terms of drilling the holes, at the beginning of the expedition, we were aiming for 5 drill sites. We thought that we were probably going to get 4, but something happened towards the end there.
Well, no, we had planned 5, and we had to keep our eye on that goal. We could have easily changed it if we wanted to do 4 instead. We planned to do 5, but we switched one because we felt at the end it was more important to go to an alternate location on Ori Massif rather than go back down to Tamu Massif and drill what we thought might be a very similar section to the hole at 1347. So it wasn't too far off. One thing that we were pretty far off on is we expected to be able to drill a total of about 800 meters of basalts, but in the end I think we only got around 460 or something like that, and that's because these massive basalts drilled much more slowly than regular old seamount basalts. The good news is that the recovery was also greater. Instead of 30%, 40% recovery, we got 80, 90, 100% recovery in some places where the flows were very massive, but it also went very slowly. So we lost on some, we gained on some.
And in retrospect, based on the prior understanding of the Shatsky rise, and has that changed now?
Well, I think our prior understanding was just we didn't understand it at all. Shatsky rise is like, there are a number of features that are like that. They're great big seamounts, and they have very low flank slopes, whereas your usual seamount has a higher flank slope, maybe 5 to 10 degrees. Shatsky rise is, if you were standing on it, you could drain away the water and you stand on it, you would probably not notice which way was down slope because it's such a low slope angle. We thought that that probably meant that it was what we call a flood basalt, a very large outpouring of magma, and in fact that's what the data say. So now we have 5 holes, 4 of which penetrated the igneous rock, the basalt, and showed us lava flows. And the really neat story that we got is we expected to have the biggest eruptions at Tamu Massif, and in fact that's what we found. We found the thickest lava flow units there, and what we think happens there is that these things just pour out, and they're many meters thick, some of them 20 meters thick. It's a very large lava flow to cover any distance of that kind of thickness. We go up to Ori Massif, and we have smaller units, and we also have pillow lavas. Pillow lavas we think occur in a much smaller output. It's more normal what you'd find probably on the flank of Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. We went up to Shearshoff Massif, and that had all pillow lavas, no massive flows at all. So there's a neat little story there going from the most massive flows at Tamu Massif to the least massive flows up at Shearshoff Massif, which fits this idea that we had the largest eruption at Tamu and it waned as it moved on. So that fit our preconceived notion, but it's nice to have that confirmed.
Right, and I remember talking to Anthony Coopers a few days ago, and I asked him what some of the interesting things that came up through the data that was collected during this expedition, and that is the alternation
Bomb cruise,
between
calling ECR 290. Bomb cruise 290.
between the massive flows and the pillow basalts.
Right. Yeah, some of those massive flows, I think the thickest one we got was 23 meters thick. So, I mean, that's like, it's like 80 feet thick. That is a massive, that is a lot of lava that just all poured out at one time. And we weren't in an area where you would expect the lava to be ponding. It looks like it was just covering the whole flank of the volcano at that kind of thickness. So that's, I mean, that's a lot of magma, and that's something special that we don't see that in the world today. There hasn't been an eruption like that in historical times, and so this is why we think what we thought that made Shatsky rise and other things like it to be special. That's why we think it's a super volcano.
Right.